The biggest risk in investing isn't losing money, it's needing it at the wrong time. And almost all financial advice completely ignores that. And if you're new here, I'm Luke. Most people think cash is supposed to sit there, do nothing. I don't. Now, this video isn't about maximizing cash returns. I've got other videos for that. This is about something way more important. Why the 3 to 6 month emergency fund rule is crap. It's bad advice, it's incomplete. Let me show you what I mean. And I've drawn this out so many times for clients, I should probably get a tattoo somewhere. Can we agree that the stock market does not go like this? But in reality, the stock market goes like this. Up, down, recovery, panic, and reversion to the mean. And we know that money has two jobs: to grow and be there when you need it or want it. And most online advice only talks about the first one, growing the pile. Now here's the reality check. If I close my eyes here and then open them here, does it feel like the straight line or the jagged line? And everyone always says the straight line. Because if you invested $100,000, fell into a coma, woke up 30 years later and had $1 million, well, of course it's going to feel like a straight line. But life doesn't happen on the straight line. Life happens on the jagged line. Because you know what the problem is? The problem is this is when your son gets into college. And this is when your daughter meets the person she wants to marry. And this is when there's a recession, the market crashes, and suddenly people say, should we wait? Should we sell? Oh my gosh, is it ever coming back? What do we do? And here's the thing that most young investors don't understand. My parents lived through a 13-year stretch where markets made no money. It took over a decade just for the market to get back to flat. So imagine, my millennials, you start investing today and you check your account next year, negative. You check your account in 2 years, negative. 5 years, negative. And not until your 13th year do you go, I'm finally back to even. That's the kind of experience that really changes how you think about risk. And my grandpa used to tell me, the most dangerous thing that could ever happen to someone the first time they go to Las Vegas is if you win. You get false confidence. And I say this to all my investors under 40. The last 15 years, a monkey could have made money in the market. We've all been riding the bull market thinking it's a permanent feature, but it's not, and that's when mistakes can happen. So if your game plan is just to buy and hold the S&P 500, turn your brain off and close your eyes and just hope it'll magically work out, with respect, let me ask you to turn your brain back on. And I know simplicity is a gift, but I think we're oversimplifying things here a lot. And if we revisit this graph, this is actually the last 25 years of investment history. And when life happens, your son goes to college here, your daughter gets married here, your retirement happens here. If cash is nowhere to be found, where does your next dollar come from? What do? Sell your investments at a loss? Well, that's not a strategy, that's stress. Just because we know that markets will go up long term doesn't mean the money's going to be there when you need it. And I get this. Most financial advice says to keep 3 to 6 months of living expenses in cash or cash-like assets. But think about what that actually means. Imagine you retired in 2022, the market crashes 20%, you only have 3 months of cash to live on. When that runs out, what do? If it comes from your investments, well, you're for sure going to be locking in some kind of loss. And now consider the scale of the problem. Think of how long it took you to build up your first $400,000 in your investment portfolios. You show up in retirement 2022 with a $2 million portfolio, and one single solitary bad year wipes out $400,000. To me, that's not just one bad year. That's a decade of progress gone. In market drops like that, they are the rule, not the exception. They happen all the time. Every decade, the market will scare people half to death at least once. Major swings happen in 2020, 2018, 2008, 2001, and the macro data gets even more interesting. Did you know that in almost any 20-year time frame we look at, whether it's 1970 to the 90s, or the 90s to the 2010s, or 2000 to today, investors will see roughly 15 good years with 5 bad ones. So if you're the person who plans to keep 3 to 6 months of cash forever, It's inevitable that when life happens to you, you're going to have to sell some of your investments at a loss just to replenish your lifestyle and spending money. And that's the real risk I think people are underestimating. But what's even more interesting to me and my clients, this really matters to savers and investors on the front end of their wealth building journey in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And not just so you have enough cash to bless your kids with things like college, cars, weddings, home purchases, or having emergency money. It's so much more than that. What I'm about to show you is one of the many reasons why I'm telling people to build 3 to 6 years of cash. I'm not a fan of 3 to 6 months. You need 3 to 6 years. And let's make this concrete. I want to compare two people and you tell me, who would you rather be? So person A follows conventional wisdom, mainstream advice, 3 months of cash. Person B, the free thinker, has 3 years of cash. Market drops 30%. Person A turns on the news, stressed out. Person B turns off notifications. He doesn't care. Person A starts calculating his losses. Person B keeps living his life. Person A wonders if they should sell, and person B wonders what's on Netflix today. And this is what I see. The average DIY investor enters a crash hoping to survive it, where the prepared investor enters a crash and uses it. And let's take this one step further. If you're the type of person who you think 3 to 6 years of cash is way overkill, every dollar should be invested the entire time, you love big risk, pay attention. This is for you. So here's the principle. When markets are down, most investors are forced to play defense. The ones with cash play offense. So same scenario, 30% drop. Person A, the 3-month cash guy, he's hoping the markets recover. He's hoping he doesn't lose his job. He's hoping he doesn't need money from his accounts. And hope is the only strategy you have when you're cash poor. But person B, the 3-year cash guy, he's playing a different game this time. Because he has time, because he has cash, he can do something that person A can't. He can use his cash while everyone else is panicking. Think back to 2020. Airports were empty, cruise ships were docked, and the world looked like travel was over. But if you and I had met during COVID, and I asked you, hey, do you think people are going to stop flying on airplanes? Do you think people are going to stop going on a honeymoon to Hawaii or taking a cruise to Bermuda? What would you have said? Well, of course not. Everyone knows that these things are going to come back. People will always want to go on Alaskan cruises for their anniversary. They're always going to want a honeymoon in Hawaii. And yet, airlines and cruise stocks fell 70, 80, even 90% during COVID. Not because the businesses went bankrupt or disappeared, but markets crash when investors run out of time and need cash. Now imagine person B. The market crashes, but he's paying attention. He thinks to himself, which businesses are temporarily broken but not permanently broken? Maybe airlines, maybe cruises, maybe hotels, maybe restaurants. And he puts his cash to work into companies that the world clearly still needs. And a couple of years later, those same stocks are up 100, 200, 300, 400%. Turns out the guy that everyone's laughing at for keeping so much cash and not investing it just tripled his money while everyone else is still calculating their losses. So who do you want to be? 3 months of cash or the 3 years of cash? When the next panic comes, do you want to be the seller or the buyer? When the next scary thing happens, do you want to be forced to react or free to act? And here's the life lesson. Everyone loves being fully invested when markets are going up. But when markets crash, the most powerful investor in the room is the one with time and cash. And this is the part of financial advice online that I think is sorely missing. Cash is not only for short-term needs. Cash is not just for emergencies or protection. Having a ton of cash is not lazy. It's patient, and patience wins. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a Sith sympathizer, but so through cash, I gain perspective. In perspective, I get control, and through control, I get opportunity. Through opportunity, I get wealth. Through wealth, I get freedom. And through freedom, I get power. Okay, English version. Cash lets you play offense when everyone else is playing defense. And that's why the real question is never, do you have enough cash for an emergency? The real question should be, do you have enough cash to move when everyone else is frozen? The 3 to 6 month rule for cash, it works perfectly if you want financial mediocrity. But if you're building real wealth, the rules change. The 3 to 6 month rule is not relevant to people who are on track to build $5 to $10 million portfolios, not relevant to people in the highest tax bracket. It's not relevant to business owners, not relevant to high producing salespeople with big commission swings, not relevant to real estate investors, and definitely not relevant to people retiring in 5 to 10 years or people who want peace of mind, financial strength, and confidence that their game plan will win no matter what. If you want to see how people can build 3 to 6 years of cash the smart way, that's what I help my clients do. Instead of relying on taxable accounts that average like 2 to 3%, my clients use life insurance for their safe money. And it lets their investments do triple backflips while everyone else is still just doing cartwheels. So stay tuned for more videos where I'm sharing what I think about life, money, and safety. I'll see you in the next video.